Hey, Razzie Erasmus here. Yeko Johan here. You're listening to the Scottish Rugby podcast brought to you by the Scottish Rugby blog.
Nothing left for me to hate, so I can lay me down, my brothers, on the ground. I bled today until Coyote comes to raise me up and carries me.
Hello everyone, and welcome to the Scottish Rugby Blog podcast, brought to you tonight with myself, John Anderson, at the helm. The cats are loose once again. Our Divine Overlord Cammy is not with us tonight because I think he's residing in a family seems like a family holiday where the internet doth not exist. So yes, we're here tonight for another one of our British and Irish Lions specials. So joining me tonight we have the other half of the mighty three-headed hydra that is Gian Anderhay, Ian Hay.
Where's the third head come from?
Well, that's a question that our listeners can maybe pose. Yes, if you've any idea who is the third head, it's like Metal Gear Solid. You know how it was like the two brothers and then there was three brothers. Same thing. So
I'm not sure. I only had. I think I've got Metal Gear 6, but I haven't really played it.
Metal Gear 6. You're so.
I've got 2.
So modern. Not having this. Also joining us to complete the Glaswegian trio of doom is Johnny McGinty. Good evening, Johnny.
Hello, how are we doing?
Not too bad, Johnny. Not too bad. We also we might have some special guest appearances through the night, based on internet requirements. So we will see if people pop up. There may be people join us. There might not be. So we shall see.
Do I have to be the Edinburgh person now?
Actually, because I think it's a requirement of hosting that you've actually got to try and be more Edinburgh. So
right.
I will take that bullet, guys. I will take that mantle.
Are you implying that Cammy's more Edinburgh than Glasgow because he gets accused the other way around?
No.
Is that what you're suggesting?
No,
have you gone through Ramsey Erasmus, John?
I am just. Do you know what? I am simply saying that Cammy does very well putting up with us cats, and he balances it well, I think. So, let's get all the usual stuff out the road. So, we don't have a sponsorship. This cuts this bit down by about 90 seconds. So what we do have, however, is a Patreon. So if you like what you see here tonight, well, there's bigger issues for you if you like that. But if you decide you want to put your hand in your pocket and support the podcast, we do have a Patreon site. So head over to, you'll see the details down the bottom there, patreon.com/Scottish Rugby Podcast. There's 2 tiers of membership. You can pay £3 a month, which will, in some places, get you a beer. But the posh places that us guys hang out at, you'll get half a beer for that. But £3 a month gets you into the Ritchieville and Thunderdome, which gets you exclusive content in Patreon. We do Patreon only exclusives. We've done various kind of teaser releases for like Six Nations games. We've done a few random podcasts where we've talked about quiche. So if that's your thing and you want to pop along, feel free. You'll get plenty of content. You also get access to our super secret Facebook page where the banter is true and the banter is good. So come along, come and join us. £3 a month. You know you want to. If you're feeling super generous and you want to go further, £5 a month gets you into the Dougie Donnelly VIP Members Lounge. Not only will you be greeted by the big man himself, spoiler alert, you won't be. You'll get all the content that you get from your £3 a month, but you'll also get your name read out in the pod. So if that sounds like something you want to do, I'm not suggesting that there's a vanity project there, but if you want desperately to hear one of us guys in our broad Glaswegian accents reading out your name, then again, batter in £5 a month gets you in there. So please support the podcast. Excellent.
Does that mean Cammy's going to be putting on a Glaswegian accent?
I hope so.
I think we've already heard that accents aren't his forte, to be honest.
Yes, we have heard that this morning, haven't we? Now, I am a bit scared of what's going to happen here. Right, I'm going to try this. Right, let's see. Right, there's movement. There's movement. Craig,
he's away.
Right, so this is what we're. So, to full disclosure, Craig's also in a Premier Inn tonight, and I'm not going to criticise a potential sponsor like the Premier Inn, but their Wi-Fi is garbage, so he's not been able to get into the pod tonight. So that's fine. Right, let's start. Well, actually, let's just address this first, right? So, we obviously had Johan Jaco at the start of the pod, talking some stuff. So, Cammy's accent. Ian, you're a man of accents. You love an accent. How would you rate that one?
Mel
you
Gibson
can't see
and
anything
Braveheart.
nice.
Yeah.
This won't get you barred from the podcast moving forward, I think.
Although does Hamish mean his natural accent?
Well, that's a good point actually, because Cam's accent is border / slight like Trafford Centre.
Trafford Centre, that's Manchester.
I know,
That's
but
the Metro Centre.
Yeah, you don't want to get.
It's close enough.
I don't know if you want to get them mixed up.
it's all the same place, really, isn't it? It's like
England's there.
it's south of Carlisle. It's pretty much the same till you get to London, isn't it? So how did you get more views in the podcast tonight, John? Well, I insulted all of England.
I've just realised that Cammy's accent is kind of northeast, and he now lives in Yorkshire, and you just accused him of being Lancashire, and it literally could not be worse. I can't wait for him to hear this.
Oh, the War of the Roses.
Hamish has provided a suggestion, a young Ian McGeechan. Hamish, no, right? Moving on. Yeah, let's do a bit of news tonight. There's been loads going on in Scottish rugby over the last week, hasn't there? Let's start. Ian's just like, the news is enough for Ian. He's gone. Johnny, I will come to you first.
No, I had bogies, that's all. People didn't need to see me wiping my nose.
Right, first things first, let's talk about the big news. Mike Blair is the Edinburgh head coach. Woo! That's totally unexpected, right?
About fell off my seat when I heard that.
Yeah, good appointment though, yeah?
I think so. I'd like to see how they're going to solve their front row crisis where they've just hired a scrum half as head coach. I'm not sure how they're going to gel those two together, but no, I think he's been doing really well. He's progressing really quickly. He was clearly in need of a big job, and it's a good one. So I think he'll do all right.
It was a shame for him though, Ian, wasn't it? That obviously he got the big promotion in the summer. You know, he had been seconded into the Tooney role. He was given the tombola and told run with it, and then the Rona took it all away from him.
It's one hand giveth, one taketh away. No, he's obviously. Oh, they do like to sort of fast track through former players, but you know he's obviously done very well, or he's obviously highly regarded enough to be given a head coach's job. And you know, one of the big problems Edinburgh had last year was having a cohesive backs play. You know, they couldn't score a try from anything further than like 5 meters. So he should obviously bring a wee bit of that there.
Yeah, and on that very note, there has been almost immediately, it was almost like they were waiting to announce the signing for Cockrell heading off to potentially what's rumoured to be a job with England. Oh, Cockrell and Jones in a room together. That's the stuff of nightmares, isn't it? But anyway, so Edinburgh announced two rather exciting signings. Now I'm just trying to. Where's my? There we go. So following in the kind of the premise of if you buy a few Argentinians, you get a couple extra free. Edinburgh have signed Emiliano Boffelli and Ramiro Moyano coming from Toulon and Racing 92 respectively. They'd both been at both those clubs for a short period of time, but both highly rated back three players. But excitement, Edinburgh are very excited to have these guys on board, and maybe a statement of intent, Johnny, from Blair straight off the bat that maybe we might see Edinburgh attack.
I think so. I mean, Boffelli in particular is a really exciting player. He'll bring a bit of a spark. He'll kind of, I think, in a different way, bring what Van der Merwe brought last year. Because he's not the same sort of size of unit as Van der Merwe, but he is just as exciting going forward with the ball. So that's obviously somewhere where they had to kind of address an issue in losing him. So it's interesting and it's pretty exciting because, like you say, it's a statement of intent that they're going to start coming forward out the backs this year. So it should be good to watch.
And Ian, how do these signings marry in? So thinking about we're talking a couple of back three players, Edinburgh obviously. They worship the ground that the Blair of the Kinghorn stands on, but guys like Damien Hoyland obviously had an amazing end to last season. He was first choice 15 for the end of last season. They also have some decent players in that back three as well. Do you see these guys coming straight in? Do you think they'll be first choice?
I think they definitely have the potential to be, or from what I've seen of Boffelli. Certainly, you know, they do have a big two-hand shaped hole to fill. and I imagine that's what he's been tasked with. Hoyland, like you said, he's really came on to a good bit of form last year, but I do think Boffelli will be. Well, they are going to have to rotate. Obviously, players need rests, but I think Boffelli will be the sort of landmark key winger going forward next season, unless they sign someone else incredible. But no, he certainly looks a decent player.
I think as well, it's an interesting indication of where the market, because it's always good to look at where the market is, and maybe the English Premiership has possibly seen Scottish players as being more like good value, and Argentinian players have always been considered good value players, and you can tend to get like a really top-notch international Argentinian player for a relatively decent rate as far as we can see. So. And I think part of that, I think the Jaguares, have they been patched now? Do they still exist?
No, there was talk of them moving to Bilbao and joining. Originally it was going to be the Pro 14, and then I think it was mentioned around the top 14 and stuff as well. Basically tried to shoehorn them into a European league from a base in Spain, but I don't think it's happening. Well, it's clearly not going to happen the URC, and I can't see the French league wanting them. So I think their days might be done, unfortunately.
Yeah, it was a shame as well, because it was always really exciting seeing the Argentinian national team, and it was the team sheet. It was just 13, 14 Jaguares. Like, that's how we do it. It reminded me a lot of the older days with I think it was Wales, the Welsh international team, and it was obviously you had 100 Joneses, but you also had, it was mostly I think there was one that was like 12 or 13 Ospreys in the starting 15, and you're like, it's the way to do it. So, but no, I think two great signings for Edinburgh actually, and to give them their credit, it is a good statement of intent, but they definitely seem to have missed a trick, because had one of those been an Argentinian prop forward, a grizzled tight head, then they might have been in a better place. But I'm sure there'll be some activity on that front in due course. So let's move on to, I'm not going to say, more interesting things, but, let's come across the M8. So news came out this week that completely expected news that Bruce Flockhart has officially retired from rugby, age 23, citing mental health issues, and he is went off to pursue other avenues for his career. He had taken a leave of absence last season, just at the start of last season. A real disappointment for many Glasgow fans. Flockhart looked, when he played, to be an exceptionally talented young back row. Ian, reaction to that?
Well, it's a damn shame, isn't it? Because, like you said, he was highly rated. There was a sort of fledgling Curry Underhill kind of thing going on with him and Matt Smith, who's another one who's had to step away from the game for health reasons. No, it's a crushing shame. I thought it was quite interesting to read that he, in contrast to what Matt Smith and other former players have said, he said that Dave Rennie was quite supportive and was a sort of, arm round the shoulder kind of guy. So maybe just people's perceptions differ, but it's at the end of the day, it's a real shame that he feels the need to retire from the game and step away. But we wish him all the best, and we've seen it even with Simone Biles in the Olympics just the other day. So it's certainly a big topic doing the rounds at the moment.
And absolutely, I think the key point actually for me in the release that Bruce Flockhart put out, Johnny, was that point about Dave Rennie, and actually the amount of support that he had at Glasgow, which does fly in the face a wee bit of kind of what we've heard maybe ex-players saying and former, what we call them, Rennieites. Let's go with that. I like that.
Renegades.
Renegades, yeah.
Nice.
I think that was one of our first headlines when Rennie joined with it, the Renegades of Funk. But it was in sharp contrast. And does for you, Johnny? Does it seem like maybe the SRU are finally maybe getting the message with regards to mental health?
Yeah, I hope so. I was really pleased to see what Bruce Flockhart was saying, and especially like Ian says, it's such a contrast between him and Matt Smith, who are similar players, similar age, similar position, saying basically the complete opposite things when they've had to basically both drawn their careers short at more or less the same time. So I hope that in reality it's more like what Bruce Flockhart says than what Matt Smith said, because it was really, really good to hear, and I'd like that to be the case.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Obviously, we wish Bruce Flockhart and any other player who, for whatever reason, has decided to step away from the game due to any issues they're having. If they've made that choice, we wish them all the best in their future endeavours. And the adage "once a warrior, always a warrior" is absolutely true in this instance. And I hope he goes on to enjoy his life a wee bit and away from professional rugby.
Once a warrior, always a warrior, except for to Kelly Nyaravoro.
And the clerk guy that we're not allowed to speak of.
Oh yeah, him and all.
And Russo, because he didn't play, and there's a few others. Right.
Once a warrior, sometimes a warrior.
I mean, it only counts if you've actually been a warrior, I suppose. So if you're a lesser spotted prop, then I guess you don't really count, do you? I'm jesting, but yeah, Nyaravoro. Seeing him tearing it up for Northampton does stick in the craw slightly. Anywho, speaking of
soft English tackling, that's what that is.
Speaking of humongous big Pacific Islanders, Scotland's autumn schedule has been amended. That was quite slick, wasn't it? Scotland have added a fourth test to their itinerary for the autumn. It will obviously sit outside the international window, which we assume will really rile Jay-Z, and he will be sending in the big dogs to sort this out. But at the moment, Scotland have a fourth test in the autumn, and it will be against Tonga. It has been announced today. There was rumours it was going to be Fiji, but Tonga seemed to be the opposition this time round. So, basically, what are we going to do for this fixture, guys? Surely we can't put out a fully fledged Scotland team, because the URC, their whole selling point of being the Ultimate Fighting Rugby Championship was that we were going to keep international window and league fixtures separate. Shockingly enough, Scotland's match against Tonga clashes with round 6 of the Ultimate Fighting Rugby Championship. Ian, what are we going to do?
I think, with all due respect to Tonga, and seeing as we don't even know how many of their players will be allowed to travel given the current debacle we're in, I think we could put a sort of second string / developmental side out and expect to win the match. So I don't think it should. I mean, it's. I think it is outside of the official test window. This one.
Yeah.
Yeah. So obviously the likes of Hogg and all that can't be released. Won't have to be released by their clubs. So I think we could get away with a sort of developmental A side, and the size of squads now, there should be enough quality to cover the club fixtures as well.
Yeah. So I mean, Johnny, from your perspective, is it, given that the fixtures over the summer didn't happen, is this maybe another opportunity? Maybe the SRU are forward planning and thinking another opportunity just to get a few bodies capped, get a few of these younger lads registered under Scotland's banner, and then let them kick on from there.
It's a good opportunity for that. It is extremely annoying that they trumpeted so much that the URC is not going to clash with international games, and then brought in another extra international game within 2 weeks. I think Ian's right. Hopefully, we should be able to put together a squad that doesn't affect the two pro teams too much. I don't think we can do it without affecting them at all. And it just seems a bit off to me, to be honest. Because it was their main thing was there's not going to be any more clashes. And Glasgow, I don't know about Edinburgh because I haven't seen too much of who they've released, but Glasgow have dropped their squad size by probably about 10 bodies this year. I assume because we were told that there's going to be less games and there's going to be no international clashes, and now already we've got an international clash.
Yeah, it was quite interesting, wasn't it? It was the first. It's that first test of change, and they failed with spectacular colours, didn't they? So I think, I mean, we were chatting on our wee group chat, and I think Cammy made a really interesting point. He does that occasionally, by the way. That so sorry, Cam. Yeah, he made the point that, you know, it might be the case that because of the fairly unique circumstances that we still find ourselves in with COVID and things like that, that actually there might have been a wee bit of an agreement that, you know what, we're going to try and keep internationals and club games separate, but actually in this instance, you know what, if you need to go and take a fourth game on, right, we understand it's a money stream for you. And I think it is telling actually that the SRU this has been added to the schedule, but it's not part of the season pass, which I'm sure will get mentioned in Hands in the Ruck at some point. But yes, it is not part of the season pass. So, you know, they are asking people to put their hands in their pocket again for a match against Tonga with potentially limited sides. My concern is that we end up back in the dark days of, you know, we've managed to sell out Murrayfield for games against Fiji, games against the smaller nations in recent times, but they're, you know, you all remember the sort of 10,000 crowds back sort of mid-noughties against these smaller sides. So I just hope that we don't go down that route with regards to this.
See if this is going to happen and it's going to be a development team and it's going to be outside the window and they're going to ask people to pay when they've already paid for season passes. Make it a £10 a ticket and give the money to Tonga. Because we'll get what we want out of it.
That was the point you made as well. Yeah, if they could do it as a hand over the gate, essentially, and, you know, because we've obviously covered in this podcast quite a few times that, you know, the disparity between the gate that Northern Hemisphere teams and the Pacific Island teams primarily get is staggering, and, you know, it would be a massive statement from the SRU to do that. So let's see, and it probably would be the only way to spin we're taking a fourth fixture and it's clashing with the new Jay-Z tournament.
If we're going to do it for our development team, we'll get what we want out of it anyway by capping people that we're trying to capture. And I can't see people being too happy to pay a full price autumn test ticket price for a outside of the window game against a tier 2 opposition where we're not seeing our full strength team. So might as well make it a cheap one, get in as many kids from the local clubs as we possibly can and give Tonga as much money as we can, because that's what they want out of it. And what we want out of it is to get more people in the squads and the setup. So
100%. So does anybody want to, I'm going to open this up to the floor, guys. Craig, who's already proven himself incapable of having internet, he claims he's over in Glasgow tonight, but I mean, I'm dubious. He says, I'm already fed up with all this Glasgow content. I mean, I think we've been fairly balanced so far, Craigie boy. But
I think so. We talked about Edinburgh first.
Exactly, yeah. I mean,
and we were nice about them.
Exactly. I mean, like, I even kind of didn't like take the piss out of Blair Kinghorn, so I thought I was really well behaved. So
you did a bit.
I mean, slightly, in that I had a sarcastic tone. That's different. You can't expect me to be like angelic about it. That's too much to ask.
All right.
So don't you start your Edinburgh bias here, Ian. I'm going to have words with you in a second. Right. Well, Craig, you'll be delighted. We're going to move away from the club game now. We are going to go, and I'm going to, I'm still working out how to use this platform, but we're going to do a bit of this.
It's the legally mandated Lions chat. The legally mandated Lions chat. We've heard so much about it that it makes us sick, but we've still got to chat about who Gatlin's gonna pick.
Yes, it is the reason you're all here. It is Lions season. We are fast approaching the second test. It has been an interesting week in Lions land, shall we say? Let's first of all revert back to before Johan Jacko, and let's have a think of the first test. So the Lions ground out a victory in the first test. They got what they wanted, I suppose, and all the predictions regarding the South African 60-minute point, where fitness would pay off and they would capitulate, seemed to be the case, Ian.
It did seem to come to pass, and the impact of the bench wasn't as big as they thought. Certainly there was. The Lions probably just I'd say the Lions edged the scrum. I think like South Africa maybe won one penalty, but the Lions won a couple as well. Sutherland seemed to struggle at first, but then sort of get back into it. And then when even when Mako Vunipola came on, he didn't make an absolute dog's dinner yet. So yeah, I think the extra fitness certainly told. But to come back, and win the second half, was it 19-5, I think, or something like that. It's a hell of an effort.
Well, I think that's the key point for me, and I'd been very vocal in the build-up to the game, Johnny, that Mako Vunipola was muck, and he done exactly what was asked of him, and fair play to the guy. He came on, he played a good game. He was abrasive in the loose. He still looked like he was puffing after about 4 minutes, but the scrum didn't go anywhere. There was parity. The Lions got what they needed out of Mako Vunipola.
Yeah, no, he was the surprise of the weekend, obviously, because I think everybody had said pretty much every position. There's 2 or 3 guys that can go in there. It's a Lions test team. We're not going to be disappointed or surprised by anybody except Mako Vunipola. And then he came out and basically proved everyone wrong. And fair play to him as well, because that was a key position, and getting on top of them in the scrum was almost certainly what made the difference. So he came in with the most pressure of everybody, and I reckon dealt with it really, really well. So it was brilliant.
Yeah, no, I think I totally agree with that. So will we have a think about? Let's start right at the back. Start at 15. Johnny, you're okay with this position? Let's do a wee Scots watch. See, we'll go through each of the Scots in turn and just give our kind of view on how they were. So Stuart Hogg. Johnny, kick us off. Stuart Hogg, fantastic.
Solid, yeah, did really well. Didn't get the opportunities probably that he would have liked to show out, but didn't do anything wrong. Did well with the ball that he did get. Was solid. Couldn't fault him really. Thought he was pretty safe, and hopefully this week he gets more of a chance to show what he could do going forward, because that's the only thing that was missing, and it wasn't through any fault of his. He was game planned out of it by the Springboks. So
I think Ian, what was really telling for me with Hogg was that he clearly has a leadership role within that team, and the growing maturity that Hogg has, where we've all seen Stuart Hogg take on 5 defenders and skin them and then get turned over because he's isolated. There seems to be a real maturity about Hogg with what he's doing on the park, and every time the ball was dead, you could see him. Absolutely, he was in and about the troops. He wasn't the captain, but he was speaking like a captain to every one of those players.
I think he's matured as a player and person. But there's been times when it just seems like he does want to try and do everything himself. But I think now he's he's learned to delegate, shall we say. And this thing, he's surrounded by top-class international players with his Lions team. And even the same with Scotland now, you can say there's a good few top-class players in there. So I think he is he's a more rounded player and just has more game awareness than he used to.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. It's easier to delegate when you can absolutely trust that the quality around you is at a certain level. And maybe in his early days in Scotland, that wasn't the case. So,
did you see that when Owen Farrell absolutely cacked it out of collecting a pass that hogged through him?
Yep.
Yeah. Basically jumped out the way of it.
I'm not taking
that hit.
His eyes were on the boy coming in to tackle him, and he was just like, no, we don't want that. Owen Farrell, for me, like, we're going to continue to concentrate on the Scots, but let's just talk about English centres for a second, just to give us a right giggle. Owen Farrell, for me, has been the absolute biggest disappointment of this tour. He has been utterly hoarse. Either of you, go for it.
I think his credit in the bank's going to run out quite soon if he carries on like this. The thing is that, like, he was great in 2017. He really, really was. Like, there's no getting away from it. He's had a couple of really, really good seasons playing for England, so he has got that credit. But he's been pedestrian this tour, and that, like, the credit doesn't last forever. So at some point, he's going to have to up his game.
For me, Ian, it's what we spoke about right at the start of this. The absolute in a Townsend game plan, he just is too limited. He can't do what's been asked of him, and it's really interesting actually that Saracens in England have managed to get such good performances out of him, but it also shows you just the absolute limitations of their game plan.
Yeah, they trust their pack a lot more than Scotland do. So as you know, he doesn't have to be Danny Cipriani or that's or Marcus Smith as the new throw in there.
The new Cipriani.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing though. A lot of the time he is now playing centre for England rather than standoff, where he first sort of made his name. And yeah, I think maybe because he is, you don't want to say limited, but he doesn't have an array of skills. He's good at what he does. He's world class at what he does, but mainly that's kicking goals, which isn't.
He's a goal kicker. His passing is rubbish. He kicks the ball well. He can't defend. He's got no pace. He's got no attacking game. He is by all intents and purposes a limited rugby player who is a very high percentage goal kicker. That gets you a long way in rugby in certain in a lot of places, Neil Jenkins. Just to give us another nation that I'm annoying. It's fine. So let's talk about the other English centre who was on everyone's lips on Saturday. Elliot of the House Daily, reminding everyone that I don't have the clip, but maybe you guys can help me out here. I think someone, a very, very attractive person, I might add, may have said Elliot Daly is a bomb scare and is guaranteed at least one mistake in the game that will potentially cost the Lions if they're not if they haven't got far enough ahead. Do you mind who that was? Sorry. This guy, maybe?
Yeah, I thought it was you, but you said it was someone really attractive.
Yeah.
Threw us off the scent.
It's in the eye of the beholder, mate. Yeah, no. So I did say, I made my voice very clear on Daly before, and he did not disappoint. He was shocking.
Yeah,
he was the easiest change to call, I think, of the team from last week to this week.
He's made that pass that he basically threw at when we were playing the Stormers or the Sharks. He's been, but people are going on. He's been absolutely brilliant on this tour. It's like he's been more maverick than Finn Russell would ever be, and yet you'll think he's a lunatic. Yeah, he's defensively again poor. He gave away one of the penalties for the 3 points, and yeah, like Johnny said, it was probably the most obvious shift. Whether that was going to be Henshaw moving out one or Harris going in.
In March 2018, can you ever in a million years imagine yourself sitting here and saying what the British and Irish Lions need to do to sort out their defence is bring in Chris Harris? It's unbelievable. The work that he's done is incredible.
The times they are changing.
And we will come on to the bold Chris Harris in due course. Let's run back through the rest of the Scots contingent. Duhan done Duhan things. He kept Colby as quiet as a wee mouse. He's also about the size of a mouse. He has obviously managed to retain his spot for the second test as well. Gatlin likes to cut his jib, I think.
I was probably more impressed with him than I was with Hoggy, to be honest. I think they both had a very similar, solid, not particularly remarkable game, but I think everybody expected Hoggy to be good and everyone expected Duhan to be stinking. So for him to step up the way that he did, I think was really impressive. Good on him keeping his spot.
Ian, you love Duhan.
I do, and it's just all these, the constant. He's rubbish under the high ball, took everything. Chased well, absolutely, smashed Quagga Smith a couple of times. One a vital turnover. Did all the defensive side of his game. Obviously, it wasn't a particularly open spectacle, but he did everything that people would think that he'd mess up. And he keeps doing it.
We all know that Duhan's big and he's like an impressive specimen and stuff. But see when you see him put that massive stiff arm on Eben Etzebeth, there's not a forward in the world that could do that. You're just like, okay.
Sit down, son. Yeah, I think what was really impressive about Duhan, and I've noticed that in a couple of the Lions games, and it's really good that he's continued it onto the test level, is the Lions look to him as an outball. We're talking, in soccer terms about having an outball, having that option. Duhan is the option. He's the outball for them. They get the ball into his hands. He runs. He takes 2, 3, 4 defenders out, and he lets the whole team reset. And they were doing that the last 10, 15 minutes for the Lions. That's exactly what they were trying to do. Use Duhan as the outball. Get Connor Murray on box kicking duty or whatever. But Duhan's got such a crucial role in that team, and it's. I think Townsend will actually be learning a lot from this tour as to how to use Duhan very cleverly. Duhan's a smashing big. Get him on the ball. He'll beat defenders, but how do you use him more than that? How do you use him defensively? How do you do that kick chase? So I think Townsend will be benefiting as well, and hopefully Scotland will moving forward. Where are we next? Who we should be at 7, to be honest, but let's
Ali Price.
Oh, Ali Price. Yep. Yep. Ali was. Yeah, I thought he was outstanding.
I thought it was really good.
Outstanding.
I think he's been hard done by to lose the starting place, to be honest. But
is it hard done by, or is there definitely a different plan?
I think it's tactical.
I think so. And I think Ali brings a lot more off the bench than Connor Murray does. Because last week when it was like a slog and it was kick penalty for penalty and battling up front, it got markedly slower when Ali Price came on, when Connor Murray came on. Whereas this week, if we can run them around for 55 minutes, get them shattered, and then bring Ali Price on so it gets quicker, it could be a whole different match by the end. So hopefully that's the idea.
Yeah, I think the thing, we've seen it across the tour, and we've seen, obviously, let's not give any more airtime to any of the utter trash that a lot of pundits have been saying. Ali Price's box kicking game is as good as Conor Murray's. It has been on this tour, and he's been absolutely solid. I think what was really interesting was his defensive game. He was not shy in putting himself about. At one point, he was one of the Lions' top tacklers, which was quite interesting to see. And that that comparison with obviously Faf de Klerk is considered to be one of the tops, probably behind Antoine Dupont at the moment for probably top scrum half in the world. And I thought Price was more than his equal. He just marshalled him well, done everything right. Great game. Really, really impressed. For a guy that a lot of people said shouldn't be going on tour because he's too slow, I thought he was spot on.
They said he shouldn't be going on tour because he's Scottish. That's why they said it.
Well, yeah. Well, actually, I heard a lot of Scottish guys saying he shouldn't go on tour as well. Which
those people are idiots.
Yeah, no, that's it. You've got to abide by all sorts of idiots in this place, don't you?
You talk about credit in the bank. It's like, people are still thinking about that Millennium Stadium disaster. Which took him a while to come back from, but he's been outstanding in this tour. His box kicked better than Murray. He was at least on par with Faf de Klerk, I thought, at the weekend, even though the Guardian gave Ali Price a 6 and Faf an 8, and then a South African rugby magazine gave Ali Price an 8 and Faf a 4. So there's a difference of opinion there.
It's always interesting, isn't it, when you go onto the Guardian website and you read that trash, and then you've got the begging bowl at the end, and you just think, honestly, like even a
yes, I have read 43 articles this month.
Close, refresh, read again. Yeah, just so bad. So moving into the forwards, not Scottish, but massive shout out for Mauro Itoje, who I've given absolute pelters over the years, but by God, he was impressive.
He was brilliant.
Outstanding.
Even in the first half, it was basically him and Ali Price were the only ones who came out in credit for that first half. I think.
Totally agree. Right, let's come on to our Lucette Suzzy boy. Tough start. I mean, obviously there was how much of Johnny the disruption that obviously wasn't meant to start the game. And that was a very last minute change that's kind of come through. How much do you think he struggled with that? Because he was pinged a few times that first half, kind of taken apart a wee bit by the South African scrum at times. Do you think that played an impact?
Yeah, it can't be easy to get that little notice. But then I suppose that on the other hand, you are still expecting to play at some point. So it's not like, Mako, for example, who made a huge difference when he came on, wasn't expected to play at all. And then comes on and was better than Suz. But it can't be easy, especially when, I suppose, if he's been doing video and stuff, looking at the tight head that he expects to play against, because South Africa had their team out since, Monday morning?
Yeah.
And then now all of a sudden he's against somebody else. It's at the level of being a test lion, it's probably not a good enough excuse, but there's probably something to it that means you have to think about it, really.
Yeah, no, I think that's absolutely fair. And Ian, I've probably come across as quite harsh on Rory Sutherland in that sense. Do you think I'm justified in that? I mean, for me, I thought it was the poorest of the Scottish players. Actually, I thought Watson was a bit rubbish when he came on as well. Whisper it. But I thought Sutherland was certainly the worst of the starters.
Yeah, I think you'd have to agree with that. But the standard that Price and Doohan in particular set was pretty high. He struggled once or twice in the scrum by the looks of it. He was just... It's a sort of 5-6 out of 10 really kind of performance.
5 or 6.
Yeah.
How does that measure up in terms of the Scottish Rugby Blog patented rating system, Ian?
Well, you start at a 6, don't you? And then if you're crap, you go down. But you start. Well, you're 6 if your side win, and then you lose points depending on your impact and all that. But then we changed it to Rory's mad 4-point system.
Yeah, the kind of like there's like ratios
Breakdown
involved,
impact. Yeah.
which was to counter me and Cammy giving everybody zeros.
Zeros, yeah.
And upsetting everybody. Because apparently you should get a point for effort. So, yeah, international level. So, yeah, it was a really, really, really good. I think ultimately for me, probably just to kind of finalise the first test stuff. Let's talk about the bench fight quickly. We had obviously Hamish Watson coming off the bench. Possibly should have been sitting on his bum for 10 minutes.
Almost certainly, I think. He's a lucky boy.
I was surprised that didn't get reviewed, and almost for me, and we'll come on to all the furore regarding TMOs and the like in due course, but it almost seemed to me like we predicted there might be a decision that wouldn't get given to show that they weren't being biased. And that to me was that decision, because that was it was a yellow all day and twice on a Sunday, wasn't it?
Nah, man, LaRue milked it.
No one said a word about Quagga Smith shoulder charging Hamish, though, not long after that.
True.
Which, I mean, to be fair, he kind of deserved.
Oh, it's guest appearance time.
Hello. This is Jaco Johan here. This is the Rassi. Is Rassi here? Hello. South Africa calling. Hello, gentlemen.
We were just talking about how good your accent is.
I have some important footage with the yellow circles around it to show the naughty behaviour. I put some sunglasses on so you don't know who I am.
It's interesting actually, because we were just talking about the Mish trying to drop somebody on his head. How many pairs of sunglasses do you have on?
It's important that people don't know who I really am.
So Jaco,
yes.
Hamish Watson, yellow, yes, 100% yellow.
You can see that the referee he really dropped the ball with that, and we didn't put the yellow circle around that one because it was so obvious. So we were putting a lot of pressure on the referees this weekend to spot that, and I think that's why the Hamish Watson has been dropped, because he is dropping players on their heads, and we know that is not a very good thing to do.
I love the absolute commitment to this. It's beautiful.
Is anyone else remembering like watching Jerry Adams on the news back in the 80s when they dubbed his voice?
I'm just getting horror flashbacks of Ben Skeen right now.
Ben Skeen's a very good friend of mine. I wish he was the TMO at the weekend. I like his dick. I like it when I visit Ben Skeen's dick a lot. Me and Ben Skeen have a lot of fun on his dick, drinking on his deck and giving it a good rub down and a good sand down. I sand down Ben Skeen's dick a lot.
Oh my goodness! Right, let's. Right, okay.
I can't commit to that all night. I'm sorry.
I was going to say this is the most.
I'm going to go Jamaican. I'm going to go Jamaican in a minute, so I better stop now while I'm ahead.
So
John, he's going to blame you for this going off the rails as well.
I know, yeah. I know.
This
Obviously
tonight, John. I get my revenge tonight.
I know. It's about time, isn't it? So obviously, long-time listeners will realise that we don't, in fact, have Jaco Johan on the podcast. Cammy has joined us. Good evening, Cammy. How is things? That looked like a lovely glass of red you had in your hand there.
It's a beautiful glass of red. I'm a bottle down. So we'll see how.
I was going to say, I'm assuming it's not your first.
No. No.
Oh, so we shall see how this goes.
I've had a Tesco meal deal, £10.
Nice.
Oh yes,
good value. Bottle of wine.
Yes.
I went for a mushroom phyllo pie with dauphinoise potatoes, bottle of red, and passion fruit cheesecake.
How the other half live, Cam.
I
How the
know.
other half live.
Yeah,
So-
splash knocks him on holiday. At the
Well,
in-laws.
I know. Yeah.
That's how the other half lives. Like, got sponging off the in-laws and going on holiday to their house.
So actually, Cammy,
An exotic Tesco. We've only got Sainsbury's up our way.
Tesco Express, mate. You've timed this very well, Cam, because actually we were just going to come on to the second test, right? So the build-up to the second test has been a little bit overshadowed by Razzie. Are you okay? Razzie Erasmus has went a bit off the rails. We've had Yako Gate. We've also had him monologuing to camera for an hour today to put pressure on the referees. If you were looking right, so I'll put this to you first, Cam, since you're fresh on the boat here. If you were looking for somebody to intimidate referees, would Razzie Erasmus be your first choice?
I think the way can you intimidate a referee? Now, this is the thing. Like for my work, the thing Razzie Erasmus did today reminded me of the old blokes who write to me to complain at my work, right? And they think they're being really clever, and they write these. They'll send me 30-page handwritten, dense handwritten things telling me why I'm wrong. And do I read them? No. Like I read the first page and go, "This is all nonsense. I'm not wasting my time on this." And I would imagine that any referee's going to look at. Are any referees going to watch what Razzie sent? No. It's an hour-long video. They're going to look at that and go, "Christ, he's going on for a bit. Am I watching this?" No. You accuse somebody of being biased. Does that mean that they then think, "Oh, I better not be biased against the person who's just accused me of being biased," or does it piss them off and make them think, "No, I'm now going to be biased against the bloke that's accused me of being biased, because why would you do that to me?" So it has zero effect at all. I think on the referees. I think even if you had, even if you got, Rob Harley to stare down a camera and threaten a referee, I think it'd have little or no effect. Do you know what I mean? That's not what referees are there to do. What I do enjoy, and I know a lot of people don't agree with this, I love the drama. Right? That's what I'm here for. We're here for the drama of this. Nobody's going to sit there and watch Razzie Erasmus's hour-long video, but the fact he's put one out there is amazing. Right? I'm totally here for. I'm here for the Yako and him having burner Twitter accounts and maybe even a burner like Tinder account or whatever to try and sneak out his like weird referee criticisms. It's not that.
Are you suggesting he's catfishing Ben O'Keefe?
I definitely. He's like, was it Jacqueline Johan? Hello, this is Jacqueline Johan, and I am just a South African. Would you be interested in coming for a drink with me? But first, before we go for a drink, here is some analysis I've done with some yellow circles. But no, there's a lot. I said today on Twitter, look, it's great for I think this is great for the game. This is what rugby needs. It needs more off-field drama to sell the sport. It's so boring off the field. It's so boring watching coaches go on and it's like, well, we play hard today. You get some calls, you don't get some calls. No, I'm sick of hearing that. We want a bit more of this drama. I think coaches should be more open about what annoys them and what they like and what they don't like. I think referees probably should have the right to reply to tell them to F off. And and that they're in the right. I think Squidge put out a stat today saying 91% of all rucks have got some infringement in them, which we all know anyway. This does nothing other than add to the drama around the game, and if that means more people watch the Lions, I'm all for it. It's not about to result in people on a Saturday afternoon at club rugby slagging off referees, which is what some people have claimed today. But it's great. I like it. I'm here for it.
So, do you, Ian? I'll put this to you first, and I'm going to put this to you, and then I'm going to go for a toilet break. But do you think that World Rugby will have the same view of this? Because Razzie, the water carrier, he's ruffled a few feathers over the last couple of weeks.
Well, they've said they're going to review they're aware of the statements made by Yako Johan / Razzie Erasmus, and we'll be reviewing it. I don't like it. I think it's a pointless exercise. Like Cammy said, it's just going to, I think if anything, it's just going to wind the referee up more. If Mark Dodson, good God, am I about to defend Dodson? If Mark Dodson could get in trouble for saying, "Look, we're taking legal advice regarding a cancellation of a game," but then you've got Razzie Erasmus comes out with an hour-long video where he, the whole victim attitude, like, oh, everyone's been against us. It's like, you've won 2 bloody World Cups, you miserable shit. It leaves a sour taste in my mouth, like half milk, and I do think that World Rugby will bring a disrepute charge against them. You timed that well, John.
I mean, I just came back to half milk and I was like, what is going on here? All right.
If World Rugby can bring a disrepute charge against the SRU based on some comments some random barrister made in the Sun, was it? Then they can bring disrepute charges against Razzie Erasmus for a bloody leaked video.
I think Razzie he will be finding himself having a wee charge to answer, won't he?
But I'm not doing this on behalf of the Springboks, he says, in full kit.
I just like the clobber. Green's just my colour.
It's okay because I could take it off at any point, said the addict. Yeah,
please don't, Razzie.
I know. Well, do you know what? For me, that's the train wreck we are on just now. Because Razzie is but 2 interviews away from whipping his top off and shouting, "Come at me, bro," on a table, isn't it? Really, it's getting quite bad. So
I'd love to see him and Gats fight.
I know. He's wandering down the high street, and they've turned World Rugby against us.
Red wine in one hand and his water bottles in the other.
One tiny water bottle.
It's like a fruit shoot size.
But all of this is, as we've said, this is a sideshow to what is a crucial second test for the Lions in South Africa. A couple of changes, one of which we've already talked about tonight, and the
Sorry.
Stop it!
Ignore me.
Goodness sake! Honestly, you let the kids stay up late, and this is what happens.
Kick him out, John. Kick him out.
Where's the remove button? No,
right.
so
I'm going to get some juice. We'll be back 2 seconds.
Right, you go and do that.
I'm thirsty.
Well, thanks for filling in while I went for my refreshment break. So second test, we've talked about Elliot Daly, possibly the easiest decision that has ever been made in World Rugby for Elliot Daly to be patched in favour of the godlike Chris Harris in defence, Cam.
Yes. It's interesting because you're not going to play the same test squad for 3 test matches, and I can't think of any other situation like this in modern rugby where you have the same teams playing each other in such close proximity. So you don't show your hand and then play the same hand again. So this was always going to happen. We were always going to have players rotated in and out. So we've shaken the hornet's nest that is the Springboks, and we've got to now deal with what comes out. So this squad is here to deal with that. So I'm not surprised that Conor Murray's swapped in from Ali Price. I think, Price off the bench probably is going to speed things up a little bit, if anything. Tom Curry for Hamish Watson. I think actually I watched Robbie Owen's video today, Squidge Rugby, what the Lions are trying to do. And I think what Tom Curry has that I haven't really appreciated before this is pace. So there is this kind of tactic the Lions have got a box kicking very accurately. Now, whether Conor Murray can do that, I don't know. Ali Price can. I'm not sure what Conor Murray. And Tom Curry is being sent as a runner to support the kick and basically smash anybody that tries to catch it. And that's not. I don't think Hamish Watson can do that. So we can argue all day long about what Hamish Watson can and can't do and how he's better than Tom Curry. He doesn't have the same pace as Tom Curry, and that's why Tom Curry's starting ahead of Hamish Watson. It's a fine squad. I don't think we can really have many arguments with it. They're all fine calls. You were never going to have the same test squad going out twice in a row.
No, I think that's fair. Sorry, Johnny, on you go.
If I'm Cheslin Colby, who is a little bit smaller than I am, the idea of a box kick going up towards me, being chased by Duhan van der Merwe and Tom Curry is a hard no. Thank you very much. There's very little I can think of in the world that I would like less than that. I think it's going to be a long day for the outside backs for the Springboks on Saturday.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think Colby will possibly have been seeing Duhan in his sleep this week, and I mean, as beautiful as Duhan is, that would be a grim thought, wouldn't it? Just 6'4", 17 stone of absolute tank, smashing you regularly. Ian, this is normally where you do an insulting joke that gets us kicked off Facebook, so I'll stop you before you do.
Cammy can do it this week. He's the guest.
Cam's too long in the tooth for that, eh? I had to put up with us for all these years. So, yeah, I mean, I think you're absolutely right, Cam. I think
I'm going to now do an hour-long video about why it was wrong that you get kicked off of Facebook. In Scottish rugby blog attire, head to toe.
Will there be yellow circles? Please tell me there are yellow circles.
Yes.
You'll be doing that in your personal capacity, I take it.
Yes. Yeah, not on behalf of the podcast.
He's going to get his mate. He's going to get his mate to film it and put up his mate's Vimeo account.
So no, I think we had said earlier on, Cam, you're absolutely right. I think there's a game plan, and I think the Ali Price thing. I don't think Ali Price, and I don't think he will be looking at it as he's been moved to the bench or whatever. I think it is a game plan. I think Harris is a no-brainer. I think there is still a frustration regarding Hamish Watson, but I genuinely, and I said just before you came on, I don't think he done enough in his off the bench role to actually justify staying in that position. I think it was, for me, it wasn't a classic Hamish Watson.
No, but there wasn't much for him to do either. I think that's the thing. Is you watched him, and he'd been sent out to go hunting rather than tackling. So when he's sent out to tackle and hunt, he's very effective at it. But you could see he was actively avoiding contact, particularly in that last 5-10 minute phase. And it was just he kept looking to tag Byrne. They were both basically kind of almost like two sharks. Every time there was a tackle, they were taking a step back and then looking to see whether there was anything on that they could turn it over. So, yes, I agree. He didn't look like he was doing much, but if you looked at what he was trying to do, because of the players I think you had on the park at the time, he wasn't being sent out to do his normal kind of 300 tackles and try and get some turnovers. He was just there looking for turnovers at the end of the game. So, coming at this test, he's been swapped out for Talupi Faletau.
Yep.
He's a completely different player. I don't think you can say the only person he could have swapped would be Tom Curry. We know Tom Curry's got pace and he's being used for a particular role, so that he's not lost out. He's not been dropped. They're just going for a different play this week, and they'll go for a different play in the third test, regardless of whether. I mean, it's either going to be, it's on the test. The tests are on a knife edge, and we'll get a full strength, whatever they plan for the third test, or the Lions win this one, and it's a dead rubber. So Warren Gatland goes full Oprah Winfrey and starts saying, "You get a Lions test cap. You get a Lions test cap. Everyone's getting a Lions test cap."
I think it's interesting, and probably the key point for me. So we've got the same number of starters as we had, shy of obviously Sutherland coming in kind of last minute. We were obviously meant to have the same number of starters. Stuart Hogg has kept his place, which fuels me with beautiful Welsh tears. Liam Williams is completely patched from the squad, and it's just, I said it last week, how good does it feel? But does it not just feel even better this week?
But come on, that's beautiful. Not very Lionsy, John.
Yeah, you're being un-Lionsy, John.
Un-Lionsy?
Un-Lionsy, that's the thing.
You've got to be lovely to everyone, or you're being very un-Lionsy.
I'm sorry. See if Liam Williams was good enough for the 23, he would be in it. So I think he just needs to get better as a player. Oh, sorry. Is that 2017, 2013 again? Did I misspeak?
Well, he's better in the air, so
yeah, except
Hog's
he's
better
not.
at everything else.
Watch the 2017 test where he is considered to be one of the best players. First thing he does in 2017 is he drops the ball in the air. It made me utterly gut myself, and then go on to Twitter and shout at people. So, Liam Williams is not the Messiah that people believe he is. Stuart Hogg's much better. I'm sorry, Wales, but get it up, you.
It's true.
It's true, exactly. So, so Sutherland has been to the bench because do you know what? I think Sutherland might not have made the bench if it wasn't for Wyn Jones being pure crocked.
He did
I
well.
think you might be right.
I thought he did well. Look, they brought the bomb squad. Sutherland was still on the pitch when they brought the bomb squad on, right? And they bullied them in that first scrum. So I think Sutherland did enough to play. I think, maybe took it. You got to remember that the games they played up to now have been absolutely. The standard of teams they were playing against was poor until they got against South Africa A. So to all of a sudden to go from that to kind of playing full intensity test match rugby is a massive step up. So everybody struggled in that first half, right? So I think, did Sutherland do enough in the second half is the question, and I think he did do enough to keep his place. I agree about Wyn Jones, but I think if you look at the other way as well, Mako, if Wyn Jones had been fit, then Mako wouldn't have got on the bench and Mako wouldn't be starting this week.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. So let's do quick predictions then. How do we see the weekend going? Because I was desperately wrong last week, so I'm not going to start us off. Johnny, you are smiling. You need to kick us off this week, mate. Tell us what's going to happen.
I've honestly got genuinely no idea.
No, that doesn't cut it. No. Get off the bench.
I think when it comes down to it, the Springboks are probably going to win. But I feel like it could go either way. I think it's probably going to be closer than last week was, and last week was pretty damn close. But I just can't see the Springboks getting whitewashed out of the series. So I'll say the Springboks are going to win, but not by much.
Okie dokie. Ian, much the same?
I don't know. I don't think South Africa don't seem to have a lot in attack, and also they faded quite badly last week. Yep. I'm going to go the Lions. The Lions by 5.
By 5, okay.
Again.
Well, do you know what? It's a wee bit more committal than I thought you were going to go for, Ian. I was coming to Cammy for Cammy. Fueled by red wine. Tell us what's going to happen, mate.
The Lions are going to win, and I think they're going to win comfortably because of Chris Harris. I'm not. That's not my tartan. That's not my tartan fueled glasses. That's because Elliot Daly was a weak link last week, so they plugged that hole, right? And Chris Harris will work tirelessly to do that. So I think the Lions will win comfortably this week. I think it'll be by more than 7. I don't think it'll be under 10 and more than 7. I think the Lions will win with. Just to fuel Irish, by the way, to fuel some Irish tears, I've got a cracking stat for you. There are more players who were born in Hawick in this test squad than there are Irishmen on the bench. Completely meaningless stat, but I love it.
What that does, however, do is complete British and Irish bingo, because I've insulted England and Wales, and Cammy has now just insulted Ireland.
The Irish.
Yes! Woo! Go team! I knew I could rely on you guys.
They'll be trying to claim Owen Farrell now.
Came here to drink red wine and insult the Irish, and I'm all out of wine.
We can tell.
So I think, like all you guys, I think actually, I think the Lions have got. I was actually really disappointed in South Africa. I thought they were very limited and very poor, and their key strengths, which was forward dominance, was non-existent. So I think if Lions get parity again at scrum time, Yeah, it's going to be a comfortable win for the Lions. I can actually see it being even more than 10. I think maybe even a 12 to 14 point win for the Lions. So, yeah, I think we're all, apart from Johnny, who's the big naysayer, because he's wanting to keep the series alive. But
Well, yeah, full disclosure, it's because we've booked Waxies for next week and I wanted to be excited.
Nice one, mate. Nice one. Right, okay, I'm going to just kind of fill very slightly while I find the banner, because I'm not as slick as Cam at this yet. So why don't we go on and finally do a bit of Yes, it is Hands of the Rock. It is our Any Other Business section. We also don't have any woke klaxons during this section, so do feel free to woke it up. Although we did, there was a couple of requests earlier on, Cam, for your accent to be woke klaxoned, which I think might have been justifiable. But you know what? It's
Hamish Allen's like grass.
Listen, I'll tell you something. You genuinely cannot. You can't be racist against white South Africans. It's literally impossible.
I was speaking to someone earlier on, and that was exactly the phrase that we used. I was like, really? Okay, cool. Yeah, fair dues. So, where do we start, guys? Johnny, what's got the hands in your ruck today, man?
Yeah, all right. My hands in the ruck's going to be a very minor and very first world problems hands in the ruck, because my main one was this new Tonga game clashing with the URC, but we've obviously already talked about that. So there is far too much nice Lions stash, and I don't like it. Because I already liked all the original stash, and then they brought out that, the stealth stuff, the black and grey, and then that was all really nice. And then last week, somebody put up a photo of the Lions golf bag and was like, "This is the most horrible, unnecessary stash I've ever seen." And I was like, "Oh, I want one of those." And then today, one of the new Lions videos came out, and in it, Kyle Sinclair's going from the sauna to the cold pool, and he's got a Lions dressing gown with a hood on, and now I want one of those as well. So basically, every time I see the Lions, there's more stash that I want, and I don't like it.
The best
I don't have disposable income.
The best outcome for you here, Johnny, is that the Lions lose, so all of this stuff is like £5 on Sports Direct within a week.
Yeah.
Oh, now we're talking. I'd give up a series loss for that dressing gown because it looked magic.
Ian, do you find yourself owning much Lions stash? Is this a thing that's in your repertoire?
No, I've only got that free top from last year because I got Level Sports when I bought a Warriors top. And I've got those books, which I've not read of yet. I've read half of Legacy of the Lions. No, but do they have trainers, Johnny? I'm a bit of a trainer.
Almost certainly. They've got literally everything. I would not be surprised.
Smoking jackets and pipes.
See, the problem I have with the Lions stash, right, is obviously, right, so thinking back to like tours going past where they done each of the nations were represented in like training tops and stuff like that. But ultimately, what you're really after is the match day stash, aren't you? You're like, I want to be a Lions fan, and you need to wear red, and red just isn't my colour. I can't pull it off. I know that will come as a surprise to all our fans, but I just can't pull off red.
I've got the navy blue polo shirt from this year. It's quite nice.
Ooh, yeah.
Cammy loves the polo shirt.
Do I? I bought off eBay. I bought a Lions shirt off eBay. It only cost me 20 quid. I'm not entirely sure that it's legit.
I did the exact same thing on your recommendation.
On my recommendation, you did, John. But everything about it is 100%. Now, I was speaking to somebody who knows about these things, and apparently there's it's so easy now to buy the software from the guys in the factory to then reproduce this stuff on shirts. And honestly, I could say, there's a chance that mine's a factory second because there's a couple of defects and the neck doesn't quite line up. It's got a couple of overstitching in the arm, so there's a chance mine's a factory defect. The other thing is that it's a knockoff, but you remember the knockoffs I used to buy in the 90s, football shirts,
honking,
right? Absolutely honking. This, I think if you apart from the defects, like the white on the neck not lining up, the overstitching on the arms, you genuinely couldn't tell it apart. It's got all the detail in the shirt. It's got everything else. So I don't know. It's interesting. I find it fascinating, this whole world that you can just kind of reproduce this stash now and for very cheap. I'm not advocating people should do that, by the way. People go buy the official stash because
Exactly.
But if anyone could do me a golf bag that's not 185 quid, then
This is how we get banned from Facebook, Johnny. So we do not condone illegal replications of Lions golf bags. Let's be very clear. I did purchase, I think it's a 2015 Scotland away top on eBay recently, and got it for a decent price. It's the one with the kind of pinstripe one, or not pinstripe, the hoop stripe one. Nice top, but it turns out it's player fit. Oh yeah, love a player fit. Macron player
Snug.
fit is oosh. That's it.
I've got the exact same one player fit, and it's awful.
Bits of me
can't
that I
wear it.
didn't even know I had are getting tucked in. It is awful, man. But anyway, that's the risk you take when you buy player fit. That is why we have supporter fit replica jerseys. They are designed for the real humans. Ian, talk to me.
Hello.
What's
Yes.
what's got handies in your rookie?
Right.
That you've
So
never seen a ruck.
no, not from. Well, it depends from range. I stayed up the other night to try and watch the Rugby Sevens semi-final on BBC. Could not find it anywhere. It's just swimming, and apparently I think it's been the same for the women's rugby today as well. They kick off at 1:00. Their next game, incidentally. So yeah, that's been annoying me because it's like, right, it was swimming or the red button was rowing. And I was on, I went online as well, and there was no option to put live Rugby Sevens on. And it's quite rugby's quite a popular sport. It's the middle of the bloody night. Rowing's not really that interesting. And a lot of times, the swimming didn't have any British interest, apart from the 4x200 men's freestyle at the end, which Duncan Scott anchored Britain gloriously to gold. So well done, Duncan, and the rest of the team there. But yeah, BBC making it almost impossible to watch bloody Rugby Sevens has got my hands in the ruck.
Isn't it on Discovery Plus?
Yes,
it is.
Yeah, someone said that. But
They've been very, very quiet about the fact that the Olympics is category A or whatever they call it, is it not? Where it's got to be free to air.
protected, yeah.
So I assume that they've got some kind of loophole where as long as a certain percent is, because the rest's on Discovery Plus, which is a paid service. And that's where most of the rugby's been, and a lot of the other good stuff as well.
So because the agreement is under free to air, they have to have one stream available for the Olympics. So it was all this free to air stuff was done back when we had Council Telly. We only had a couple of channels, so BBC just had to put on some Olympics, and that was free to air, right? In 2012, so I read the press release on this. I'm not just spouting made up stuff. In 2012, they obviously reached the pinnacle. London Olympics, they had, I think it was 24 concurrent streams going on across the BBC. It was absolutely, wall-to-wall sport. With this Olympics, because Discovery Plus have got the contract, they had to subcontract, and therefore they've been granted 2 streams. So they're allowed a live stream and a BBC iPlayer stream. So that's why, but that counts as free to air. There is content available and it's live, it's free to air. However, they are having to obviously work out where to put their resources. I would argue, Ian, and this is going to be controversial, they've probably thought to themselves, well, Fiji are affy good at Rugby Sevens, whereas we've won medals in the pool recently. And we've won medals at rowing. So, are we really a rugby nation anymore?
We got silver in 2016.
We got silver the last time.
Lost to Fiji in the final.
Aye, but we had New Zealand and then Fiji this time round. We had no chance. So we obviously lost to New Zealand, then lost to Argentina. So we're not a rugby scoring, a medal scoring rugby nation anymore, guys.
But Ian's right. There was naff all on iPlayer though. You get what you get today at the games, and that's it to watch it back. Whereas the last time round, you could choose a sport and watch the days before gymnastics coverage or highlights. It's so basic, the coverage this time round. And it's not just rugby; it's everything. You have to sit and watch. And also I think the thing that bothered me about the Sevens is that, like, I like Ugo Monye, right? But I don't think Ugo Monye knows bugger all about sevens. Right? I don't know. Somebody might correct me, but I don't think Ugo Monye, he's probably played sevens at some point, but he's not on the sevens circuit. So all the stuff that he was talking was so generic. It was dull. And they could have at least, I know, we could have got Scott Hastings on, who I don't think he's played much sevens, but he commentates on the sevens circuit. He knows more about it. They could have got one of the blooming silver medalists from last time round to talk about it. But they just got, who have we got on our books that does rugby? Oh, we'll get Ugo on. So Ugo's just sat there awkwardly kind of trying to describe sevens in the studio with Jill Douglas. And Jill Douglas probably knows more about the bloody sevens than Ugo Monye. Do you know what I mean? So she's sat there going, how do you think I went? Well, if you look at this move, he's passed to this man and he's had a good run at him, and then he's passed to another man and that's a really good try. It's meaningless. So that annoyed me that they just, we'll get Ugo in because he's on the books.
Shall we so on that very point, shall we bring in some more commentator hate? Because the hate fuels me, guys. Let's do a little bit of this. So Sam has hands of the ruck. Will Greenwood's commentary. Oh my God, he's annoying now. First point of order. What was Will Greenwood wearing? Let's just address that for a second. What a spectacular outfit.
Will Greenwood is obviously in the middle of some middle-aged, middle-class male breakdown. I'm assuming he's left his wife and got a 19-year-old girlfriend who's dressing him and doing his hair. It's utterly ridiculous. It just looks...
You've got lovely thighs, Will. You'd look great in skin-tight chinos.
Yeah.
You should definitely do that. You should shave the sides of your hair off, Will. You'd look really good.
All my friends in sixth form are shaving the sides of their hair, Will.
Can we just be very clear that we do not know if Will Greenwood has left his wife and is dating a high schooler, but it looks like it is. It looks like it's the case.
I said it looks like. I didn't say it was. I was very careful, John.
Nobody mentioned Lee Griffiths, for God's sakes.
I would argue this is Will Greenwood's second worst look after the 2002 blonde hair incident. It was really, really bad. And I agree actually with Sam's point. You know what? Right. So you look for your commentators to give you want your commentators to give a bit of life, a bit of excitement, a bit of knowledge, but ultimately they're there to act as a sideshow to the action that's going on in the park, which admittedly was fairly drab. Will Greenwood, it is the Greenwood show. He has got, I think he probably spends months writing those puns and writing those notes because he loves to be the centre of attention.
You go, Johnny.
Everything Will Greenwood says is terrible, but one thing is particularly terrible, and that's, let's bring in Nigel here. What do you think of that? Because if there's anybody who's worse than Greenwood...
It's like, hold my beer, son. Yeah.
Self-promotion, is it, boyo?
Valid point. Cam, you've talked about possibly us doing a wee bit of having a ref on the panel to address some of the intricacies of the modern game. I mean, how crap has Nigel Owens been? He is
awful. I think the problem with Nigel Owens is I think Nige kind of clocked out of the game while he was still a referee.
Yeah.
Right, and Nigel Owens was refereeing from the Nigel Owens law books, years ago, and just had scant disregard for what the laws actually said. I'm just going to see what this game happens. It's chaos refereeing. Obviously, I'm going to have a free-flowing game today. Why not? And so, some of the stuff he was saying, you think this isn't right, and a lot of stuff he's been saying on Twitter for the last 12 months when people are asking him, to kind of talk about refereeing decisions. Maybe I'm wrong. He probably thinks he is up. Nigel Owens would say, I'm up to date and I keep abreast of all the law changes, I'm sure. But he doesn't seem that up to date. And I think it's different being asked to analyse refereeing decisions on in commentary than it is to make decisions on the park. You make decisions on the park, you're like, this is my decision, this is what I'm going with, bang, 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 on we go. If I need the TM, I'll ask him. So it's really decisive. I think the problem with like having one in the commentary box, unless you've got someone I think like Wayne Barnes, I know people have got their views on Wayne Barnes, but Wayne Barnes, because he's a barrister, I think can be much more analytical about it. He can kind of pick apart why a decision is being made. Nigel Owens is coming at it saying, this is the decision I would make, rather than this is why this person's making this decision within this framework, which would be much more interesting rather than, what do you think, Nigel? Oh, I wouldn't do that. I would know, but I'd, I'd be milking the cows.
He's done a very good job of giving both sides every time they ask him as well. Like, they say, oh, Nigel, what do you think of this? And he goes, well, I think it could be this, but then also it could be this. So he looks right no matter what happens.
But there's no analysis, is there? There's no kind of picking apart. Like, look under the laws. This is what I've never heard Nigel say, like, this is what the law says. So what we're looking for from this referee decision is what he's now going to do is pick that apart for us. That would be interesting, rather than goes, well, let's see what he does here then. Oh, right now, he's doing that.
It is really interesting, isn't it, to see the level of subjectivity that Owens clearly brought to his refereeing.
Did he not say never read the law book? He never read it.
It was one that was mentioned that he had never read it cover to cover, which, I mean,
we've all been jobs when we've done that, though. Come on,
exactly.
Never read the manual, so,
But yeah, I mean, it was really interesting to hear him talking about, and it was actually interesting when he's talking about his process and what he would decide at that point, and then the referee goes and does something completely different. And it is like, you're like, well, I mean, subjectivity comes into it, but ultimately, like, you're trying to apply a series of laws, and it actually is flagged up for me how clear it is that referees, we all know that referees have their own interpretation of the laws. You only have to look at a Roman Platt game versus a Wayne Barnes game to see that it's two very different interpretations of the same rules. And it has, in some ways, to me, the classic Nigel Owens game was the Murrayfield Scotland-England game, where he clearly had, like, both teams had prepared for a version of Nigel. And then he turned up, and I don't know, he maybe had a sherry too many the night before, or he, watched a really good movie or something, but he changed the laws completely as to what he was going to referee. And
he changed his approach, I think, because John Barkley said we were expecting to be really harsh and not let us compete at the breakdown at all. Yeah. And all of a sudden, I realised within the first 10 minutes, it was on and he was letting us compete at the breakdown.
Yeah. So Scotland adjusted and done the right thing. England didn't, and that's actually why Scotland won. I mean, you just have to look at our intro thing. We've got so many... Oh, well, actually, it's the hands in the ruck theme. Got a few of the Scotland penalties there. But, yeah, he's the self-appointed best referee in the world ever. I mean, all right, mate. We'll take that as an advisement. But the commentary in the Lions series has been rubbish. We all agree.
I don't know. It's like, you've got... Sam Warburton's very good. I think I like Warburton. I think the problem is it's like, you got Warburton next to Greenwood, so it's a bit like watching Jaws and then watching Sharknado afterwards. Do you know what I mean? It's not. You can't really compare. It depends on your opinion of Jaws and Sharknado, really, I think, is how that analogy works.
If it's Jaws the Revenge, then, we're kind of on par there.
Warburton is playing for a regular gig with Sky. He has been a yes man.
But he's got Warburton at least understands pacing and Greenwood doesn't, right? You the pacing of a match and again, I think that's more the commentator's job than it is for the summarizers like Greenwood. Is you set the scene, you build it up, and then straight away you kind of drop it down because then you've got to build up towards the climax at the end. Greenwood, the first hit is like, this is the most monumental hit there's been in Lions rugby history. Let's see which way this referee decision goes. Like, mate, there's 30 seconds on the clock. Christ, we've got another 80 minutes of this to get through.
the Stormers game, right? The very start of the Stormers game, he was losing it because the Stormers kicked it deep to Marcus Smith, and he's going, "Oh, that's a fairly pedestrian kick they've gone deep and it's gone to Marcus Smith, and there's going to be an exciting start for him." There is not a team from Midlands 4 up to the Springboks who looks at a boy who's 2 weeks into his professional rugby career and goes, "Let's kick it down his throat and see what happens." Like, that is the most obvious thing in the world. And Greenwood's talking about it like it's like a massive monumental occasion. It's like, I would have done that. If someone said to me, "See their number 10, he's only been played for 2 weeks," I'd be like, "All right, cool. Guess where the kickoff's going." And Greenwood's like, "This is incredible. I can't believe this is happening."
Cammy, I know you may not have had an opportunity to have some hands in your ruck.
Oh, I've always got hands in my ruck, John.
Please join us. Come.
I've got two. Let's start with this. Can we start with this from Hamish Allen? They insulted you, Cammy, before you were on.
I mean, I think Hamish, you're a bloody grass son.
Snitches, mate.
That's it, Hamish. I thought we were pals.
Anyway, my actual hands in the ruck is the Neil Francis thing. Not just, I mean, the Neil Francis thing in itself would be hands in the ruck. For those that don't know, who haven't been around this week, Neil Francis, who on the Irish Independent podcast, which the Irish Independent, big newspaper in Ireland, described Marcus Smith, who's of Filipino origin, of having Oompa Loompa skin.
Hilariously, it's called the Left Wing Podcast.
So that's, there's a couple of things that come up. One, obviously, that's horrendous. It should, it's absolutely abhorrent. But the kind of fallout from this is interesting because he's been sacked, not by the Independent, by the parent company that owns the Independent. The apology that's come out for the Independent says, "We're sorry if anybody was offended," kind of thing. And this should never have gone out as it was. The apology for Neil Francis is, "I'm sorry if Marcus Smith and his family were offended." Rather than saying these are abhorrent words, I'm going to have a period of reflection and learn from what that's the proper way to apologise. The fact, I think, that Luke Fitzgerald, who was in the studio with him, hasn't immediately said, "What are you saying? This is unacceptable. You cannot describe Marcus Smith as having Oompa Loompa skin. That is abhorrent language. I'm going to stop this podcast now. You're out of here. By the way, we're now going to edit all of this out and you're probably going to get fired and we'll have an investigate." That's what should have happened. Instead, they put it out. What happens is he says it. There's kind of like a bit of a kind of slight giggle and an awkward silence, and then they carry on talking. Unless people start dealing with this directly and saying, when the words leave someone's mouth, it is incumbent upon the person who hears them to say, "That is unacceptable," or "Please, I don't understand what you mean by that. Can you explain your choice of words?" So that's the first thing. Is it just the way the Independent have dealt with it, the way Luke Fitzgerald dealt with it? And I know Ugamoni's coming out and said, "I was on tour with Luke Fitzgerald. He's not racist." I'm sure he's not racist, but is he equipped and good at pulling up racists on racism? No. He's very bad at it, clearly. So that's the first thing, is the non-apology, the way it was dealt with up front. I think the second thing is just the intellectual gymnastics that some people are doing on Facebook and Twitter to try and say that this isn't racism, this isn't racist language. Or maybe he didn't know that Marcus Smith was of Filipino origin. Like, he's a professional rugby writer. And I know, that's probably a stretch for Neil Francis calling him a writer, but this guy's paid to write about rugby. He should know these bloody things. And I'm not being funny, but anybody would look at Marcus Smith would think, look, there's a guy who's of mixed race. There's a mixed race guy. So maybe it's not a good choice of words to use the words Oompa Loompa skin to describe him, because it's
I saw someone say, "I watched a few games on BT Sport this season with Harlequins in them, and they never once brought up that he was half Filipino." It's like, yeah, okay, fine. Is it your job? No. It's his job.
Nobody told me that Ugamonyu was black. I've thought he was white this entire time. So I can't believe people have been throwing racist abuse at him this whole time, because I am completely colourblind. It's ridiculous. The stuff people.
The only thing worse than that was the amount of people that I've seen say, "Oh, people used to say stuff like that about Gavin Henson all the time." Like, yeah, Gavin Henson spent a lot of time and money choosing to make himself look like that, and that's not the same thing. If you genuinely need that explained to you, I honestly don't know if I can help you.
I think the other
Slagging somebody for loving a sunbed is not the same as being racist.
Exactly.
And somebody genuinely said, I think we devalue the word racism by saying this is racist. It's like, Christ, mate, where are you setting the bar? Right? Rugby Onslaught said Rugby Onslaught said we don't believe he was being racist. It's like, where's your bar for racism? Right? Oompa Loompa skin. Christ. Do you know what I mean? Like, if your bar is actual racial, I mean, that's a racial slur. Let's not get away from it. You know, if you're actually expecting it's not racism until someone says the N word, Christ, that's a high bar. Do you know what I mean? Like, bloody hell.
And it's back. You're absolutely right, Cameron. It's back to that idea. Thankfully, we've had lots of people speak out over the last week about the Neil Francis thing, and obviously we've been very vocal about various things regarding I'm going to do it. It hurts. Hashtag rugby values. Which, right, can we just be very clear? It's utter bollocks, right, guys? It is bollocks. Rugby values is not a thing. It is a middle-class sport filled with white people who are like, a lot of them quite like to be racist. A lot of the clubs I've been around, there is not a lot of decorum. So this is, and that's changing. And it's changing because people are standing up to it and saying no to it. Now, people like Neil Francis still have a platform because people accept that and people allow it. Luke Fitzgerald allows that. His editors allow that. It's not acceptable, and we all have a responsibility, right? See, if we like this game that we talk crap about once a week and speak to your mates about during the week. If you want it to be rugby values, you have the absolute responsibility to show rugby values and actually do it instead of just talking crap about it. So that's the kind of challenge, guys. Actually do it.
What's interesting, like, you had the whole Euro 2000 thing, 2020 thing, 2021 this year, 2021.
2021,
but it's still called Euro 2020.
It was Euro 2021. That's what's confusing me.
It's because they had all this flag from it.
All the way through that, talking about it, saying, rugby's better than football because we'd never throw racist abuse like that in rugby. That'd never happen in rugby. Look at all the things that happen. Isn't football a disgusting sport for all these oiks that are in it? It's like, I think rugby's probably got a worse racism problem than football because it's football, it's openly spoken about it. I would say a large proportion of people that follow rugby are, if not openly racist, at least racist. And I think it's slowly changing because there's the younger generation are coming up and filling that. And I think partly the older generation are learning that that's not acceptable anymore. But I think we talk about, the structure of world rugby in itself is inherently racist because it kind of prevents tier 2 nations from progressing. The system itself is racist within rugby. And we've talked about that before. So it's, we're not a clean sport.
Oh, that's fair enough. Hamish, you're back in my good books. Well done, son. You've got back in the game. Slagging somebody's appearance when you're a rugby journalist, asked a rugby question, means you're a crap journalist. Yes. As I would probably say, as amateur journalists in this table, Ian, technically freelance.
Sometimes I get paid.
Sometimes, so we'll call you a professional. The rest of us are.
Hey, I got paid. I got paid £40 for a meme once.
You did.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, but if they hadn't stolen it, you wouldn't have got it.
No, that's true.
I remember I got paid for selling my soul and saying football was better than rugby. So, as a ragtag bunch of amateur journalists, yes, we all know that if you have to resort to criticising an appearance, that you're not very good at your job. And
do you know what else I thought was particularly bloody stupid? Was he's like, some Harlequins out half with his David Beckham haircut. Harlequins just won the bloody English Premiership. He masterminded them to the title. You know what I mean? He's the best playmaker in the English league. I think he's okay, thanks.
That'll be England.
But he's not Johnny Sexton, so he's rubbish. If you're not Johnny Sexton, you're shite.
We jest, but it's still And actually,
Fucking
yeah,
tired.
back to slightly back to commentators. We've not mentioned them tonight, but Ronan O'Gara. Oh my God, the chip on that guy's shoulder. And see, like,
Bag.
genuinely, I wanted to buy him better internet. I'm like, mate,
Totally.
what's your deal?
Just once, I'd like to hear him answer the question that Alex Payne asks him. I feel like he's come up with his answer before Alex Payne asks the question, and he's just going to go with it.
Aye, and it
Well, look,
genuinely revolves.
we've lost Craig tonight to Premier Inn, Wi-Fi. So let's not let's not judge Ronan O'Gara and his hotel Wi-Fi too badly.
I'm sorry, but there is a slight step up from Sky Sports coverage of the Lions to with Ronan O'Gara to
He
Scottish
still
Rugby
looks like
Blog
he's.
podcast.
Come on, he still looks like he's broadcasting from a travel tavern.
He does. Did you see him with his tactics board up above his head this week?
I liked his blank calendar.
Oh yeah. Oh, Rog, come on, mate, come on. Yeah. So what we've agreed tonight is rugby's still racist. So yeah, it's fine, right? And we'll need to change that.
But keep listening to our podcast about rugby, guys.
Yeah. when you can hear Ian and Cammy do several very questionable accents.
Hey, that's xenophobia, Johnny, not racism.
Sorry.
Just, I love that Clarkson. So, right, to finish up, right, my hands are up very quickly. I love a moan about Scottish rugby fans. It's kind of like a pastime of mine now. But, right, why is it a surprise to anyone that a fourth test getting added to the international calendar during a global pandemic where the SRU have literally sold your name on a wall and given you the opportunity to pay money to have your name on the wall and then not shown you it? Why is it a surprise to people that they would charge you for this fourth test against an unknown opponent at that point, given that they've just sold season tickets at Edinburgh under the premise that certain cockerel was still in charge, but we're not going to tell you he's actually been fired. You've all renewed your season tickets. So, by the way, funny story, right? Funny story. By the way, you got fired. So, keep coming along. It's fine. Yeah, guys, naivety. See if you're in a position to pay for a season pass to go to Murrayfield for the autumn internationals that you might not even get an opportunity to go and see. It's back to the point we've made before, right? You're putting your hand in your pocket, and the union needs that, and they're asking you to do that. And do you know what? If you're in a position to do that, fair play to you. You don't have to put your hand in your pocket to go to this other game. You don't have to go to it. It's actually quite nice to sit in front of the telly sometimes and watch a game. The beer's cheaper, the food's better, and do you know what? Your seat's a wee bit comfier, and nobody walks past you when they have to pee. It's perfect. So, see if you want to watch your Tonga game on telly, you should do that.
I think there's two things for me with this. I think the first one is somebody can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think my understanding of this is that when you buy a season ticket, they say this is the number of games you'll get. You get 3 games in the autumn, however many games in the Six Nations, and that's it. So when there's an extra give you that for free. It's not what they've agreed with you. I think the other thing is that because there's now the season tickets, because Scotland is successful, getting to a rugby international now, getting a ticket, it's like hen's teeth. It's like gold dust getting tickets these days. So to have an extra test, and we can, I know we've talked all about, the pros and cons of having that during an ERC weekend, but just having an extra test where anybody can. I mean, they'll probably have. I'm guessing they'll probably be able to buy tickets on the door for the Tonga game. Aye. They've done that before for international matches for Scotland. To have a game to give everybody the chance just to rock up, buy a ticket, and get in without having to worry about having a season ticket, without having to worry to go through the clubs, which is absolutely the right. I believe 100% that's the right way to sell tickets, by the way. But not people complain about that. So here's one opportunity where we can say to everybody, look. buy a ticket, come along, see Scotland play. Yes, it's Tonga. It'll be a laugh, but we're just all tickets are on general sale apart from the posh seats. It's not an opportunity that comes along that often. So I think fair play.
Yeah, guys, Johnny, Ian, any views on the self-entitlement of Scottish rugby fans?
No, I absolutely agree with what you and Cammy have both said. Like, Cammy's particularly right in that you've signed a deal saying you'll get your 3 autumn internationals and your 2 Six Nations games or whatever. Like, say they cancel one of the autumn internationals, then by all means be raging.
Yep.
If you get less than what you paid for, then that's an acceptable thing to be angry about. Don't be angry that you're not getting given more than what you paid for. I don't understand how that's a thing that you could be annoyed about.
I own 3 Apple products, and yet I don't have any. I don't benefit from when Apple shares go up. This is ridiculous. I demand shares in Apple.
You've just lost a regular customer. And why is your name still on our Patreon list then?
See, for exactly, yeah. For me, it wouldn't be an issue for me. Like, I get some people just like to blow off steam, and do you know what? We've got a platform every week to do that in some ways, but on certain Facebook pages, rugby platforms and stuff, people just like to go on and just say their piece, and they like to be a wee bit controversial. But ultimately, they're really committed Scottish rugby fans, and they just want to go to games and stuff like that. That's cool. I really respect that. But there is an element of just check your privilege, and we've talked about. And the problem I have with it is, it's now probably about the 10th time I've mentioned this type of activity where people have just spoken without thinking of the context of what they're saying.
Yeah, it happens to me at work all the time. People come in and go, "Oh, this has got cheaper since I bought it, so I want to get the difference back." And I'm always like, "Well, okay, if it had got more expensive since you bought it, would you expect me to phone you up and go, well, that's got more expensive now, so you owe me more money?" No, you wouldn't. Like that's what you agreed at the time, and that's what you're dealing with. Don't phone up and go, "Oh, well, there's an extra game now that I didn't pay for, and I expect to go for free." No.
I think the flip side of this is, though, that all those people who on the Friday before Calcutta Cup matches go, has anybody got a spare ticket to the Calcutta Cup match, and then get annoyed when there isn't spare tickets and go, there's never any bloody tickets because all the clubs sell them and everyone's got season tickets, it's ridiculous. Here's your opportunity. So if you want to go and see Scotland play, you're going to have to accept that you're going to have to go and watch them play Tonga, right? If you really care about Scottish rugby that much that you want to go pay to see them, here's an opportunity to go and do that. If you want to go and see them play England, you're either going to have to sign up for a season ticket or you're going to have to join a club. And that's the bottom line there, or be willing to stump up hundreds of pounds for a corporate ticket. Here's your opportunity. Rather than complaining about not being able to get a ticket to the Calcutta Cup the Friday before the game, buy a ticket for Tonga.
Exactly, yep. Or just watch it on the telly like a normal person. It's fine. So, I guess, aside from, right, Hamish, look, we've had a running battle tonight, mate, and I think we're going to call this, like, right, Hamish, we are those fans, right? We had a wee bit of grief with the old, like, we don't anymore. Let's be honest, it's been a wee while since we went down the Hughes should be chosen over Harris route, but, like, there's, yeah, I agree. And then just a wee final one for Malcolm Knox. Not a bad day when Scottish Rugby adds another fixture. Current budget aside, makes sense to charge more rugby. Good business for Scottish Rugby. Malcolm, if you would like to be our spokesperson and go and tell all the Scottish Rugby fans that is absolutely how it should be, you are more than welcome to it. Cammy has just decided to absolutely vacate.
He's had enough.
He's had enough of this crap. It's been brilliant having him on. It's been brilliant having you guys on. Thank you so much. It has been an epic. We have almost hit 2 hours. That is my fault. It always is the case when I'm hosting. Thank you so much, guys, for putting up with us. We've had a consistent number of years with us the whole way through. We will be back after the next test. We'll be back next week. I think Cammy will be in charge. I mean, I don't think I'll ever again be in charge, but who knows? Like, desperate times call for desperate measures. I am the Blair King, not Blair King, Blair Cowan of this bankroll right here. So
The Blair
except
Kinghorn Project.
I've not got as good as, well, there we go. We've got the title, the Blair Kinghorn Project. I've not got the hair, but I do have some chat. So thank you so much, guys. Thank you to Ian and Johnny. Thanks for joining us. And I guess it is goodbye from me and goodbye from the troops.
Cheerio then.
Cheers.